Hello and welcome to Creative Sparkle. My name's Holly and today we're doing an art journal prompt list, so grab your art supplies and let us get crafting. Hello and thank you for joining me today. So to begin with, I'm just putting some masking tape down the centre not to have anything bleed through my page, and I'm just going to go over with a quick white gesso just to prime that page. But the first prompt is to begin your background with an ombre or gradient effect. So I've chosen this turquoise and purple colours that I'm just going to spread diagonally across the page and make that gradient hopefully blend into those colours. So I primed my pages just because they're quite thin pages in this book, so if you feel like you wanted to use something other than paint like I have, you can use gelatos for example. If you wanted to use those, you would probably need to prime your page just to make sure that you've got that vibrancy and the porous texture so that you can get those stuck on better. But if you're using acrylic paint and you don't feel like you need to prime your page, then don't worry about it. Don't prime your page if you don't need to. That's why I didn't put a prompt on for it, because I didn't want to make priming the page an importance. It's not. So because I'm using acrylic paints, I didn't necessarily need to, but I decided to. So enough about priming the page. I have obviously blended the colours and just adding more and more of them. And I am happy with the result in the end. You don't have to do these colours, do whatever colours you imagine would be more interesting for you. And then once you're happy with that, we'll move on to the next prompt. So prompt number 2 is to dab another colour randomly over the top of step 1. Now I've chosen a baby blue colour and I'm just going to go in with some tissue paper and literally just dab over the top of it. Now I know it's hard to watch because I did like that gradient in the background, but you know, these prompts will have you changing things, so don't worry. So the next prompt is prompt number 3, and it's to add splashes to the background in the same colour as step 2. So obviously I'm going to go in with that baby blue again and add splashes to the background. It's easy to make splashes from pretty much any medium that you've used for your step 2, so don't worry, you can just mix a bit of water in if you need to and get those splashes on. So prompt number 4 is to stamp or doodle on white tissue paper and add it to the background. So I've chosen this stamp set which is quite steampunky, and I'm just going to use black archival ink to go onto this white tissue paper and stamp each of those images 3 times, and then once I've finished with the stamping, we'll move on to getting those images. If you wanted to cut them out completely to the edges, that's fine, but I decided to go in with a wet paintbrush and just go around each of those images and just pull them out, because once you've got that wet texture onto that tissue paper, it is so easy to pull them apart and not damage anything because it does have that shiny surface on one side. So as you can see, I'm cutting them out as so, and then once I'm happy with that, we'll get the Mod Podge, and as you can see, I've put them over the page already, and we'll get those stuck down, and I will go over the top of them as well. So once you're happy with your tissue paper images, we'll move on to prompt number 5, which is to draw or add an outline of a face mask as the focal image, not adding it to the page yet. So you can see here that I have drawn a face mask which is like the plague type mask, and I decided to add a top hat to it as well. So that's my image of a mask, and I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to also cut the eye holes out. So for that prompt, you simply need to get the outline of the mask that you want to use. You can use a face mask, you could use a mask for a masquerade ball for example, whatever kind of thing it fits with your page the best. I think the steampunkiness just made me want to do the plague mask, and I think you can tell what it is. So the next prompt is to, on the inside of your mask or outline is to add a create a scene. So I have this image that I got from a magazine, and I'm simply going to cut that image out. If you want, you can draw a scene inside, or you can paint a scene on the inside of your mask. You could take a photo of something, print that out, do whatever is available to you and whatever you think goes best with your page. So I've cut that out, so I'm not using the original outline, which is absolutely fine. I was just using it as a stencil or a mask almost. And once I've cut that out, that will be the focal image, and we'll add that again with the Mod Podge. Just get that stuck down on the page, and then once I'm happy with the placement, I am just going to go around the edges with a black marker pen, just so that it stands out more on the page. And then I'm going to use a white gel pen just to go around each of those black lines, again so it stands out on the page, because I think it fits better. So you'll see here it kind of blends into the background a bit too much, so that black outline will really bring it forward as part of the focal image. Don't feel like you need to follow this and do the black outline if your page has a different idea to it, or has, you know, different feel to it. Then you just do what feels good for your page. Obviously, if you want to do the black outline and the white outline across that, then absolutely do. I feel like it goes well with the page because we've already got white on there, and the black on the focal image and the stamps that I've used, then, you know, it just fits quite well. So after you finish with your mask, we'll move on to prompt number 7, which is to add some subtle texture to your spread. Now I have these small, tiny little nuts and bolts, or screws, or whatever you want to call them, and I'm just going to take some gel medium and stick them randomly over the page to add a little bit of texture. So they're literally the size of beads, so if you wanted to, you can add some beads, or you can add a bit of sand or glitter, or whatever you feel fits with your page the best. I just thought with this steampunk idea that seems to be coming forward from this page, I thought it would fit quite well. So those little bolts and those little screws are just going to be added over the page. So you use whatever you have available to you and what fits with your page better. So once you're happy with your texture, we'll move on to the next prompt, which is prompt number 8, and that is to add 3 to 5 pieces of ephemera relating to your focal image or scene. So sticking with the steampunky vibe, I have cogs that are literally little metal cogs that you can buy for so cheap on Amazon, and I have added those just again with gel medium randomly around the page, and I added 5 of those just because the business of the page wouldn't have allowed really for 3 of them to be enough with the size of them as well. So that's a simple prompt. So now that that's done, we can move on to the next prompt. The next prompt is number 9, and it's to add a one-word title to your page. So I've decided to use the same image that I used for the focal image, and I'm just using a cutoff there from that so as not to waste anything, and I think obviously it will make the page more cohesive. And my title is going to be simply Time, and I'm going in with that black marker pen and following suit with the focal image that I did and applying it with black marker pen, and then I'm going to go in with the white gel pen as well and go around those, each letter with the white gel pen to bring that out, and it will as well fit in with the focal image better. So once I've finished that, I'll cut it out, stick it down on the page with some Mod Podge, and I'll go around the outside of the title as well with the same black line and then the white line so that it all pulls together. So once you're happy with your title, we'll move on to the 10th and final prompt, which is to use ink to finish your page. Now, you can use any type of ink that you have available to you, whatever you feel goes best with your page, as I always say. So I'm using Black Soot Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to use a blender just to go around the edges and give it a shadowy border, and just to darken those edges a bit and bring the page together. I think it goes rather well. If you don't want to use that type of ink, you could make some splashes with acrylic ink or spray some ink, whatever goes best with your page. I'm quite happy with what I decided to do. So that's the end of the page. Thank you so much again for joining me today, and if you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you do decide to take part in the prompts list, please do tag me on Instagram with the hashtag #SparklePrompt, and I'll see you next time where we'll turn your creative spark into creative sparkle. Thanks, bye.